And showtime. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of the ChannelPro 5-Minute Roundup. Look at news, trends, and tips for the SMB channel in 5 minutes or thereabouts. My name is Rich Freeman. I'm executive editor of the ChannelPro Network, also a co-host of this program. I am joined this week, as I am every week, by your other co-host, Eric Simpson, a business transformation and improvement advisor to MSPs and other IT providers. Eric, how goes it?
It's going really well here in Southern California, Rich. I suspect it's going better here than where you currently are right now. So fill us in.
You know, it's funny because it feels like all we do the last few weeks on this show is talk about the weather, but it's relevant again. For folks who are watching on video, the backdrop here is a hotel room in Dallas where ChannelPro staged its first SMB Forum event of the year this week. And if you're not paying close attention to the weather, there was a bit of an ice storm here this week in Dallas, and so it was kind of challenging getting in. I'm going to be getting home, one hopes, after we finish recording here. But yeah, it's definitely been an interesting week here in Dallas.
Yeah, well, you're on the other side of it now, Rich, which is great. But yeah, I mean, it's knocked out, power for, I think, thousands of folks. I mean, I've got pictures from colleagues that were sending me of what outside looks like when, every tree on the block is just down because of, ice, heavy ice and stuff, breaking branches and things, power outages, all kinds of stuff. So travel home safely, my friend.
Thank you very much. And let's dive into our top story of the week. It actually, this is news that broke at the beginning of the week, which is that Kaseya has rolled out a new unified partner program. They're calling it the Kaseya plus Datto partner program. It's basically an extension of Datto's partner program. Prior to Kaseya buying Datto last year, Kaseya did not have a partner program of this sort. Datto did. And so what Kaseya did, and they announced that they would be doing this last September at DattoCon. They took that Datto partner program, they expanded it, and now they're making it available to the entire Kaseya partner base. So inclusive of Datto partners, but all of the other, IT, Glue, Graphis, RapidFire tools, you name it, all Kaseya partners now have, for the first time, access to a tiered membership partner program with qualifications and benefits. And so like the Datto program, 4 tiers, it's all based on your spend. What's significant about this program in relation to the Datto one is obviously before, the only spend they cared about was your Datto spend. This is now a unified cross-Kaseya partner program. So any Kaseya related spend counts towards your qualifications and those thresholds. A number of different benefits that members get based on their level in the program: 24/7, 365 customer support, assistance from or access to live technical webinars, free passes to industry events, and assistance from Kaseya's MSP enablement team. And that is a nice bridge into part of what's significant about this announcement, Eric. In the months since Kaseya has completed its acquisition of Datto, they have taken Datto's MSP enablement team and expanded it from 3 people to 60. And Kaseya made a point of emphasizing the fact that they have tripled the size of the partner organization, doubled the size of MDF, as validation for what Kaseya has been saying basically since word first broke that this acquisition was even going to be happening. There were a lot of partners, and I'm sure this is still true, but especially last year, a lot of partners were understandably nervous about the possibility of things being cut after this enormous $6.2 billion acquisition. Kaseya was very insistent from the get-go that, to the contrary, they were going to be investing and expanding and enhancing. So part of what's significant about the announcement here, Eric, is that this is some early validation that they are, in fact, doing what they said they were going to do. They are putting more money into that program. And just minutes before we started recording this podcast, I completed an interview with the executive vice president of channel at Kaseya. I'll be writing up a story shortly about that. And he discussed some other investments that they're making. So interesting news. If you're a Kaseya partner, this is actually interesting news because you have access to a partner program for the first time. If you are a Datto partner, interesting because there are maybe some new benefits you're getting, but it's also a sign they're not looking to take things away, at least at this point.
Yeah, that is great news. And, that's what, we look at, from a merger and acquisition perspective. I do a lot of that work with MSP partners as well as vendors, Rich, and we're looking for these synergies, and we're looking to take, what's working well in, one of the organizations and spread it through the new organization, the larger organization. And, there's positive synergies that way. And this is a great, I think indicator to, the channel, at large, to address what you couched as, partner nervousness, right? There was a lot of chatter, because partners really loved how Datto took care of them. They loved the partner program. They loved a lot of these components. And it's really great to see Kaseya not only adopt it, but enhance it and expand it across all spend, right? So that's really, really interesting and unique. So that's great news for Kaseya partners at large.
Way back when we were first talking about this acquisition, before it had even completed, I think we both emphasized to folks in our audience, wait and see. Let's wait and see what happens before we decide whether this is a good thing or a bad thing. It's about 7 months since that transaction closed. Still probably too early to say for sure, good thing, bad thing. But this is one of those, it's an example of what we had in mind when we said let's wait for things to settle in a little bit before we start rendering judgment. So let's see what the next 6 months hold.
Yeah, I mean, like you say, we're kind of right outside that 180-day post-acquisition timeframe, and we look at post-acquisition integration strategies and attainment of synergies and things like that from kind of a 30, 90, 180-day and beyond. And I gotta say, this is a big lift for them to have accomplished within about 180 days post-close. I mean, it's pretty impressive.
Well, Eric, I guess that's a pretty good bridge to your tip of the week here, because it has to do with something that a lot of people do, but maybe don't do impressively well.
Absolutely, Rich. And again, many of my tips of the week come from, what I happen to be doing with a partner or a group of partners or vendors or something else in the channel, kind of, recent to that tip of the week. So this is one of those scenarios that's something that I'm an engagement. I'm working with a client on helping them, improve and transform their sales organization. As part of that, I do a lot of different exercises and sales coaching. And one of the things that I also do is review, their online presence, websites. I look at social media profiles, and the one, and I think we've talked about this on the show before, Rich, but it's been years. I think it's all about improving and perfecting your social media presence to attract your target audience. So I'm talking specifically about LinkedIn, right? There are some best practices on how you should adjust your LinkedIn profile to attract your target audience. Now, this isn't, we're looking at the professional profile that, we use to promote ourselves on LinkedIn. It's not a Facebook. Facebook's a little bit different. I know some folks use Facebook as well. I do. I don't. I'm a very private person, so I'm using Facebook and LinkedIn and Twitter mostly for business, right? So you're not going to see a lot of personal stuff from me on Facebook, but I'm trying to break out of that mold a little bit recently because people tell me I should. But on LinkedIn specifically, this is how you are perceived by your prospects and clients. So if I'm a sales professional, if I'm a technical expert, I want to make sure that my profile attracts that audience. So the first thing, let's take the sales role for this example. If I'm a sales professional and I'm, conducting outreach and I'm using LinkedIn to reach out to prospects, the first thing they're going to do is look at my profile. If I'm sending emails to folks, or I'm inviting them to a webinar or an event or a meetup or something like that, our profiles are going to be looked at from a professional perspective. And we have to make sure that we have a professional, image of us, not the default gray circle that I see some of these profiles. The banner behind us, should be not the default one of the 6 or 8 options or whatever it is that LinkedIn provide you. So get with your leadership team. If you're a team member of the organization, if you're a leader of the organization, make sure you establish what these logos and what these banners should look like, and make sure that we are standardizing them across the team, because just having one person whose profile is perfected and looks correct and everybody else isn't doing the same thing also kind of works against us. So let's standardize on what the default banners and logos and taglines should be. Have a nice professional photograph, smiling helps. And then don't just put your title, after your name. Use your name like I do. I add a little bit to my name to try to generate interest and curiosity in my target audience, a little bit more. It's a little salesy. And then in your description, punch it up a little bit. And then don't simply talk about your accomplishments, in terms of, let's take that sales example, like, top sales performer for this year and sold so much here and sold so much there. That doesn't resonate with your target audience. That's great for recruiters, right? So if you're out there and you're looking for an opportunity or between roles, yes, adjust your profile based on your need. But if you're trying to connect with a prospect for managed IT services or cybersecurity, it's best to cater to those needs. I help my clients maintain cybersecurity compliance and keep their networks safe, right? That sounds a lot better than, sold $3 million in sales 3 years in a row, right, to a prospect. So we're going to link, Rich, to some online tips to improve your LinkedIn profile. So check it out in the show notes after they're posted, and check it out, because you create your image and brand yourself. So don't be afraid to get out there and push the envelope a little bit. Be careful not to make it sound too salesy or too pitchy, but just address the needs of your target audience and reflect how you do that and how satisfied your clients are, and then how they can contact you.
Great advice, Eric. And it's really interesting as I'm listening to you talk about that. It occurs to me, because I'm in Dallas. We did an SMB forum event, a ChannelPro event here in Dallas this week. One of the sessions was a website makeover workshop. We kind of help people understand how to refine their website for effectiveness. And pretty much everything you just said applies to a listener or viewer's website as well. It's the same kind of thing. As you want to be clear and direct and compelling about what it is that you do and why people should follow up with you. You want to make it easy for them to do that. You want to be kind of mindful about things like branding and consistency and so forth. So yeah, absolutely. I would encourage people, especially if it's just not something you've thought of in a long time. Maybe you have put a little time into your LinkedIn profile in the past, put a little time into your website. It might be a good time to take a second look, make sure it's working as effectively for you as it could, and look for maybe some opportunities to, as you said, punch things up.
Yeah, punch it up a little bit, maintain consistency across, these social media profiles. So, for me, I have very similar branding and messaging on all the profiles that I use online. And I think organizations, once they identify what the website, brand guidance is, that can roll through all of these other social media platforms. And in fact, I encourage organizations to provide every team member a kit, a file that says, look, here's the banners, here's the images, here's the taglines, here's our company colors. So if you're out there optimizing your social media profiles to help the organization and help you succeed within the organization, please conform to these guidelines.
Okay, I love it. Thank you for that, Eric. And it leaves us with time for just one more story coming to us from the annals of science. Now, I'm sure pretty much every pediatrician out there, wherever they are in the world, has run into the situation, and they probably run into it on a weekly basis, where a parent calls up and says, my child just chewed the head off a Lego toy and swallowed it. Do I need to bring him or her into the emergency room? And doctors typically say, no, you really don't need to worry about that so much. But this has never been scientifically proven before, Eric, until now, in Australia, where Dr. Andy Tagg was curious about this phenomenon, wanted to be able to offer his patients some scientific evidence that you don't need to be worried. And there was really only one way to know. Dr. Tagg recruited 5 other doctors. All 6 of them ingested deliberately a Lego toy head and then waited to see what happened, basically. And they came up with, and you just can't make this stuff up, they came up with their own measure to see the how long this effect might have on somebody. They called the time elapsed from ingestion of the Lego head to its excretion from the body the found and retrieved time. The acronym for that, Eric, is FART. So it turns out the scientifically determined fart time for a Lego head is 1.71 days. We now know this for sure, and we know that it is the truth. That your child is gonna be okay if they eat a little piece of a Lego toy.
Thanks to Dr. Andy Tagg and his FART scorecard.
And thank you for sharing, Dr. Tagg. Yes, absolutely. And thank you for listening and joining us on the 5-Minute Roundup, folks. That's all the time we've got this week. We'll be back again next week with another episode for you. As we like to remind you, we are both a video and a podcast these days. So if you're watching the video, but you also listen to podcasts, go to wherever it is you get your podcasts, Apple, Google, Spotify, Stitcher, you name it. You're going to find us there. We would very much appreciate it if you would subscribe, rate, and review so other folks can find the program more easily. Now, if you're listening to the podcast but are interested in checking out the video, go to the ChannelPro Network channel on YouTube. You can become a subscriber there. You can also click the bell icon if you want to get notified when new episodes of this show go up. You can read more about the new Kaseya Datto Partner Program. You can get all sorts of additional news coverage and business growth advice for your company every day at channelpronetwork.com, because we've got amazing content for you going up there every day. And you can learn more about Eric and the work he does with his clients at ericsimpson.com. That is ERICK Simpson.com. So once again, folks, we thank you very much for joining us. We'll see you next week. Until then, please enjoy the rest of your week. Eric and I are enjoying the rest of your week already.